Hello, everyone. Okay, do we start now?
Yes. Like, can you turn
Right.
off the... Hey, sorry.
All right. Are we good with the music now? Great. So I guess we can start, everyone. So thank you for attending our event today. So first, happy Women's Day. Happy Women's Month, because Women's Day was already on March 8th. And today we're just culminating the events that we have started on the 8th. And that is our Break the Bias Mapathon. And also today will be with our speakers to talk about some of their inspiring stories. So for this year's International Women's Day celebration, the theme is hashtag Break the Bias, and it the goal for this theme is to effect change into having more awareness about equality that we have in this world. So we need a world that has equality for every gender, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality, and collectively, we all can hashtag break the bias. So for today, let's proceed with our program. So we'll start with a little bit of introduction for GeoLadies. So we have here our GeoLadies with me. So well, everyone here will be a GeoLady after the end of the event. So you can see here Nali doing the peace sign. We have Blay and we have Faye, and we also have Andy and Jen, but Jen is, I think, in a different time zone now. So I think we can proceed with our introduction to GeoLadies presentation. So that's me. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Hello, everyone. Can you see this blank white screen?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. We have the presentation. It's actually here. So today I'm going to tell you a story I told a little more than twice already. So it will be the story of how GeoLadies came to be. But first, let me introduce myself. So I am your storyteller today and also your host today. So my name is Charmaine Amador. You can call me Cham. That's my nickname. So I am a geolady myself, and throughout the presentation, there will be parts where I would need some cheering. So a simple woo would do, I guess. So pay attention and get ready to woo. So what I do, I make web maps. So I also speak quite a few languages like Python, JavaScript, Java, and other dialects like HTML, CSS, and of course, let me know in the chat if you speak any of these languages. So I learned these languages in order to communicate with the machine or the computer to do codes. And of course, what I code for is I code to make maps. So what kind of maps do I code? So it's maps that determine tidal energy resource in the Philippines, maps that help the Filipino sugarcane farmer to predict their yield, maps that track the first satellite with the Philippine flag on it. So that's me. I make web maps. So now let's go to our main story today. It's women and mapping. So women and mapping goes way back. Much mapping before was done in from ships, which of course they banned women, and also in universities, schools, which are close to women, and that also cuts off another avenue where women in particular can do mapping before. So, however, many cartographic businesses were family run, so it's a family business, and women often worked as engravers, colorists, and more. It's just that their contribution has mainly gone unrecognized. Women would publish maps in another name, probably the name of the husband, or their father. Women would publish maps using just their initial, so it's also a way to conceal their identity. And it's sort of like the tactic that they've proven to be effective so that they can sell maps. So people who buys map always just buys it from the men who are making the maps. So a lot of this is the main reason why they go unrecognized, and a lot of women cartographers were unknown, is because of this kind of practices. But now we can map freely. So can I hear the first two?
Woo!
Very good. A little more practice on the next one. Okay, so please pay attention. So, but now we can map freely and be a part of the mapping community. And one avenue to do so is through Openstreetmap. That's why we're here today. So 10 years ago, as you can see by how old this picture looks, in order to map and validate features in OpenStreetMap, you need to go to the place itself. So you need to drive there or ride your bike there. As publicly available high-resolution satellite images and street views are not yet prevalent then. So you have to really go and verify the features on the ground. 10 years ago, also the mapping party looked like this. So I got these pictures from Maning Sambale, where are you, Sir Maning? So he presented this last 2014, so several years ago. And he was the first to point out that we need to change the ratio and floated the idea of having a group like the GeoladiesPH. So as we know, maps are very subjective. Whatever is significant for one may differ from that of another. Some features or places deemed unimportant by another may be of utmost importance to me, as they held personal experiences and memories that I cherish. So we recognize that in order to create a more inclusive and holistic map, a less biased map, hashtag break the bias, we need mappers of different perspectives and experiences. Thus, there is a need to change the ratio. So our core problem now is, how might we change the ratio? We started by making a space. through events like events and workshops like Mapa Babae, which is a collaborative event by the Department of Social Welfare and Development and Openstreetmap Philippines. And it is an Openstreetmap workshop and mapathon with women and for women, just like this event today. So 3 years at the first at the first Pista ng Mapa in Dumaguete, Philippines. I think this is the second birthplace of GeoladiesPH. This time we conducted a workshop / mapathon entitled When Women Map. In this workshop, we encourage the participants to map their environment and answer the following questions. What places do I visit often? What places are important to me as a woman? How is mapping these places important to us? The resulting maps are just incredible. One mapped about a love story, where they met and where they would go to date, where they broke up, and where this person escaped from their emotions. Well, in Tagalog, I guess, saan siya nagwalwal. It was his actual term. Another map places important for her as a mother, a clinic, places with adequate parking, a playground / fun zone for her kids to play in while she goes grocery shopping, and the gym that she emphasized as her most important place, as exercising makes her feel good and stay healthy for her kids as well. Third example is a group of friends from the Baguette that introduced us to the must-see places in their city. After Pista ng Mapa, we want more people to be aware of GeoLadies and how are we making a space. So hence, we created a Facebook page and continued to host events and invite more GeoLadies like the people here. So for example, like this workshop where we have our GeoLady, Lunas, who taught us how to fly a drone. And a little bit of statistic here. According to the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, then when we were doing this workshop, only 8% of licensed drone pilots are women. And now, I think recently, according to Lay, it's now 11%. So we did some improvement there. And with this, women applicants are prioritized in such event to generate interest from an underrepresented sector in the field. So after that, we continued hosting meetups and events or workshops. So an example of a meetup is this Geo Chicas meetup. It's as simple as getting to know everyone's session. And we have this Geospatial We Mean, where we invited different women to share about their works. So that's it. So we're just continuing to create more awareness and more spaces for GeoLadies all over the Philippines and also all over the world now. And if you want to keep updated on what we are up to, please follow us on Facebook. We also have a Twitter. And if you want to get in touch with us, please email us on the email here, geoladiesph@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone. All right, so I guess now you have more ideas of what GeoLadies are up to. So today is also one of our events where we aim to break the bias and make space for women like you and create more GeoLadies like us. All right, so we proceed to our first break. Let's do a quick break first. So I want everyone to go to their Google Chrome. If you're on your laptop, just quickly open that Chrome browser on the Google search. And if you're on your phone, just do the same. And let me know in the chat if you're already there. I'm not sure I'm still sharing my screen. Can you still see my screen?
No.
Nope. Okay, it's fine. Okay. Some people are saying that they're already there. So I want to test some of the queries that we have and see what Google has for us. Let me just go back to share my screen. I want you to try to do these searches and let autocomplete do something about it. And let me know in the chat what completes your search, how it completes your search. All right. So we can try this 3 Google query on Google. So first is type in women should. And I'm curious as what Google will autocomplete it with. Women's shoulder bag. Women should be prim and proper. From Arnally. What else? What else did Google say about women should? Women should dress modestly. Oh, I love this one from Faye. Women should rule the world speech. Probably it's the title of a speech. So I think it's a great speech that we need to Google and read about. Women should be would be financially independent. Women should take up space. I think Google improved already on this women should thing. So that's very good because they also did this exercise a few years back and the autocomplete from Google is just not good. You can also try women must and women are. Women shoulder tattoos. Maybe this is a thing now. Women must weep. Women mustache, yes. Probably this is a problem for a lot of women. Women must weep. I'm not sure what's the women must haves. So probably this is about shopping. All right. Oh, I love this one. I think we can end with this one from May. Women are not objects. It really says the message out there. So with that said, let's move on to our next speaker. So let me introduce her. So our next speaker is Miss Jalency Paclarin. So Miss Jelen is a feminist, educator, community worker, and has been part of the women's movements for the past 2 decades. She is the executive director of the Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau. The Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, Incorporated, formerly known as Women's Legal Bureau, was established in 1990 by feminist human rights advocates wanting to effectively address the prejudices suffered by Filipino women before the law and in the legal system. WLB emerged as the first consciously feminist legal organization advocating feminist legal advocacy as a strategy for the promotion and defense of women's human rights. So, ladies, let me hear your woo and welcome Ms. Jalency Baclarin.
Hello, everyone.
Very good.
Can I share my screen? Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and we're very glad that we are lucky to be invited by GeoLadies to be part of this very momentous event. I was actually asked by the group to introduce WLB, and so here's a short introduction. Actually, natawa ako kanina when you were talking about mapping. We also do mapping, but we map laws. Or mapping what are the available legal remedies to women, no? If in case they opt to or they decide to file a case. So we also do mapping, but on a very different way. So WLB, I think, was already introduced by Charm, or rather by Cham, but we identify ourselves as feminists. And as I always say, I don't want to be defensive about it. It's a very straightforward labeling. No? We are feminists. Much of the work that we're doing are on legal, and we are an NGO, no, composed of women's rights activists, advocates, and development workers. So, as mentioned earlier, at that time when WLB was established in 1990, there were post EDSA revolution, those Filipino women, no, law students who wanted to create change, realized that there is no particular NGO working on the issue of women and the law. And that was the prime reason why they decided to build WLB. So just to give you an overview of what we're doing, how do we break the bias? How do we change the norms and perspectives, age-old postulates, laws, and perspectives that are embedded in our culture? So we try to go to our community partners. We go to communities. We try to empower community women. We train them using the law. And as we always say, law is very political, like feminist. Feminist is political. Personal is political. And we always see law law as a strategic site of struggle. And that's the reason why law is always whether it's legislative advocacy, whether it's capacity building, we always make use of the law as a way to empower women, or if we need to change the law, especially laws that discriminate women, we also try to do that. So currently, WLB is present in 4 rural communities where we do our capacity building. We try to organize women. We try to capacitate women so that they would be able to engage local government and demand the rights that are that they deserve. We are currently present in Western Samar, where we work with Hayan survivors. We're also working with with indigenous women from Zambales, from women migrant workers from Talisay, and from rural women or farmers from Quezon. This is actually how we do things now, given the pandemic. We are also trying to organize young girls, because as you've said nga, based on the hashtag, break the bias, we believe that we need to start breaking the bias, breaking the stereotype at a very young age. And I think it's a good way to start it with young children, particularly girls, na madalas sila yung tinatawag nating nakakahon o nababox just because they happen to be women or they happen to be girls. So these are also how we do hybrid capacity building activities in partnership with local women's organizations. We believe that it's a continuum, that the women, that eventually the young girls will become women, and they need to support and join also the women's organizations. Hindi kami kagaya ninyo, we believe that the success for the success to achieve our goals is through coming together, and trying to achieve our objectives. It's difficult if we will be just doing it as individuals or separate. So we believe that the best way to do it is collectively. So we also do human rights and policy advocacy work like documentation, research. We can visit our website. It's www.wlbonline.org. We do a lot of primers. We also do research relating to violence against women and the onslaught, of course, of the information communication technology and how it affects the lives of women. We also do some critical engagement with government as a way also to demand accountability. Siguro some of you might be familiar if you're already born or baka yung parents nyo. We also campaign in favor of Nicole, the Subic rape case, and for Jennifer Laude when she was murdered or killed by a U.S. serviceman in Subic. And then siguro lastly, we believe that coming together like what you're doing is also our way to address the backlash, to address the ongoing violence happening to women. And we believe that that if we come together, there's a future in movement building work, in movement building. This is a recently held activity where we try to bring girls and educate them that it's not acceptable, it's not common, it's not normal that violence is happening to young girls, and therefore we have to do something about the violence. We need to stop it by breaking the bias, and all together, let's create safe spaces for everyone. So that's actually our message for everyone who try hard not to work on creating safer spaces for everyone, especially for women. Maraming salamat po at thank you po sa pagsuporta rin po sa WLB. Yun lamang at maraming salamat.
Woo! Thank you, Miss Jen. That's wonderful. I really like that at the end there's a message that by being together we can create the safe spaces for everyone, and of course the importance of movement building in pushing our objectives into reality. All right. I have a question. Do we open the floor for questions, Nali, or we move on to the next?
Yeah, we'll have open forum later after all the three speakers.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so we move on to our next speaker. So our next speaker is Miss Diane Bencito. She is a WebJS developer. So I like her. She has been involved in developing web application tools that help the communities in mitigating and responding to disasters. She is currently the lead developer in UPRI NOAA Center. And Diane believes that developing tools for the community will help them adapt and embrace the use of new technologies for them to create systematic, timely, and sound decisions for their community. So, ladies, let's all welcome Ms. Diane Bencito.
You're still on mute then.
Sorry. Yeah, hello everyone. So thank you for that introduction. So let me share my screen. Yeah. So yeah, hello, I'm Dan Bencito. I'm one of the backend developer in UPRI. So how did my interest in web development start? So when I was in high school, before we got our family computer, sobrang tambay ako sa computer shop, doing research, online games, and of course, using Friendster. So yes, my interest in programming started while using Friendster. So how? If you knew Friendster, kung nabutan niyo yung Friendster, there's a CSS customization there na pwede mong pagandahin yung profile mo. So, I know, meron naman siyang ready templates, pero dahil pabida tayo, gusto natin mas maganda yung profile natin and unique siya. So, walang kaparehas, ganun. So yeah, I took my Bachelor of Science in Information Technology to develop my programming skill. Para hindi lang yung pag-edit sa CSS yung alam ko. So, after I graduated, I got my first job at ESSC. So here, sobrang dami kong natutunan dito. My first role here was a programmer. So they hired me to develop and customize a QGIS plugin. So, which is INASAFE. So if you're not familiar about INASAFE, it is an Indonesian QGIS plugin that estimates impact hazard scenarios. So the goal in this project is to customize the app with Philippine adaptation. So since I'm not familiar pa in Python, someone from INASAFE flew here in Manila, and that was Marco. So he mentors me while he's staying here in Manila. So I got a chance then to meet the INASAFE developers. So I went to Indonesia, and think I'm with Ate Jen nung bumisita ako dito. So yeah, there's a stakeholders event there. So during the development then ng plugin, I got to know what is open data, what is GIS, what is Openstreetmap. So how this app can save lives in a hazard event. So yeah, sobrang enjoy yung first job experience ko dito sa ESSC. So dito rin sa ESSC, na-meet ko yung Openstreetmap community. So natuto akong bumasa at umintindi ng iba't ibang klaseng mapa. I even learned how to generate maps. I also able to teach what I've learned lalo na sa mga LGUs, sa private sectors. So super thank you kay Sir Manning if he's here. Kung napapanood niya to, he's one of my favorite boss back then. And then to my Beshi Pei, she's one of my GIS mentor since then. So really sobrang thankful ako na to have her teaching me doing GS stuff. Ayan. Right now, in UPRI, I'm focusing more on sa programming na lang. So I'm mostly involved sa backend development ng web apps ni UPRI. So I would take this opportunity na rin to promote our website. So please visit ncov.up.edu.ph and noaa.up.edu.ph. So I will give you an intro to that. So yung una, yung ncov.up.edu.ph. So we build this website to provide vital information related to COVID-19 to help policymakers and local communities to make better decisions during the pandemic. So initially, itong website na to is to display simple data lang. Pero with the help of our researchers, our statisticians, mas nadagdagan pa namin yung data na nakalagay dito sa website. Tapos, recently, we revamped the NOAA website. So, as you all know, NOAA website have been really helpful to many LGUs, especially kapag may bagyo. So, yung mga hazard maps na meron kami, i-implement namin yun dun sa website. And then, yung tools for monitoring, like yung sensors, yung Himawari satellite images, contours. So, right now, there are some features from the old NOAA na still ongoing pa. So, dinedevelop pa namin yun. And we revamped the website kasi we want our users to experience the improved and better version using the new technologies. So, ang target talaga namin dito is to make the website na hindi na ganun ka-intimidating. Yung mas bibisitahin na nila, mas gugustuhin na nilang gamitin kasi mas naiintindihan na nila yung website. So, yeah, so these are the applications na mostly ginagamit ko. So, since mas involved ako sa backend, I usually use Python. So, I saw them kanina earlier na most of the geoladies here are using Python then. So, love that. Tapos, we're using Postgres as database and of course, we're using GitHub. Dito namin mostly nilalagay yung repos namin. And then Django for our web framework, and then yung sa AWS, still new here, pero yeah, we're putting some of our data in the Amazon. And then yung pinaka-recent na technology na ginagamit namin, yung new map service namin is itong Mapbox. So we are so thankful na inalaw kami maging partner ng Mapbox. So it's really helpful para sa revamp ng NOAA website. So I would like to share my experience as a tech person. So actually, it was challenging to be in this field. Merong times na I ask myself kung kaya ko ba makipagsabayan, kung magagawa ko ba na maayos yung mga dinedevelop ko, na may capable. And I'm thankful na nagagawa ko naman siya ng maayos. So mostly ng mga nakakatrabaho ko in this field ay lalaki. So yung mentors ko, yung supervisors ko, yung teammates ko, and I'm really thankful na they treat me equally, na they treat me as babae ka with capabilities, not babae ka lang. So I'm really thankful to them. So I will share my experience na rin as a mapper before. So I was a volunteer din sa Osm before, sa first job ko. And there are some fieldworks na may nagtatanong sa akin doon kasi may mga fieldworks yan before. So, they mostly ask, buti hindi ka nahihirapan. Kasi, di ba, parang pagka nag-field ka ang init, tapos lakad ng lakad. So, I remember someone saying na mostly daw kasi na nakikita nila pagka nasa field is lalaki. Well, totoo naman. So, pero it doesn't mean na titigil ako or parang i-question ko yung sarili ko na kaya ko bang gawin din yun. I mean, kaya ko bang ituloy-tuloy siya. So, for me, I love what I'm doing. I was able to share my knowledge in mapping. I got to know more people, know their stories while mapping. So, syempre, ang pinaka-best part doon is makita mo yung output nila. So, makita mo yung changes sa map na mapaproud of you ka dun sa mga team mo na, wow, sobrang laki nung na-improve dun sa map na yun. And of all of the fieldworks, yung Payatas talaga yung pinaka-memorable sa akin. So, for almost a year, I'm up with them. So, sad lang, wala akong makita na memories or parang pictures during the field kasi sobrang sobrang tagal na talaga niya. I think 2015 or 2016 yung field work namin doon. So sa Payatas, doon ko na-realize during the field work na kung gaano ka-importante yung detailed map. So sa mga tanong na bakit kaya binabaha dito, may daan kaya dito, saan kaya banda yung mga building na to. Kasi kung hindi ka familiar dun sa lugar at di updated yung mapa, sobrang hirap mag-field work. So ang pinaka-best option mo is to go on field. Well, yung new technology naman, there's an AI na, pero iba pa rin yung pag pumunta ka sa field eh. So kailangan mo ng lokal na kabisado yung lugar para mas mag-guide ka dun sa area na yun. And it's actually a good experience for me kasi, alam mo yun, parang you're mapping the area at the same time, you know the people in the area. So it's really a good experience for me. So nakakamiss lang siya. Pero hopefully soon, okay na ulit mag-field sa labas. Ayun. Tapos, siguro, final speech na lang is, for me, there should be no required gender to do a job. Kung alam mong kaya mo naman, so why not? To my fellow women, na please don't be discouraged to get a job or the activities na feeling mo pang lalaki lang. Do what you love, do what you want to learn, and let's break the bias. Ayan. So, thank you.
Woo! 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 Woo!
Thank you, Diane. That was very nice at the end, most especially. I really like it when you say, babae ka with capabilities. Hindi babae ka lang. And it's very nice also that you emphasize about being keen about the details that we are putting into the maps that we create, because these details, when put together, they help us to paint an accurate story of the situation on the ground. And in addition to that, if you also do field work on the ground and you meet the people who you are mapping for, you create this relationship and you empathize with them and you understand more what is their situation, and being able to empathize with them also gives you an accurate or a better perspective to create the solution to their actual problems. Minsan kasi we're listing out these problems, and at the end of the day, hindi pala nila, it's not their actual problem that we are solving. So being in the ground is really very important. So please visit all the websites that Diane mentioned earlier. And if you have any questions right now, we're still on speaker number 2. Write them down and we will answer them in our open forum. So moving on to our third speaker of the day. So actually, it's my honor to introduce this engineer, Honey. So Honey is also my mentor for the SLSI program. And let me tell you a little bit about Honey. So Honey is a Geographic Information Systems Associate for Asia at HOT. She graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, with a Bachelor of Science in Genetic Engineering, just like me. After a year of being involved in OSM mapping through her affiliation with the UPRI Youth Mappers, she was able to join HOT Philippines as a junior spatial data entry staff to the Philware project. Honey also worked for the Manila Observatory before coming back to HOT in its Asia Pacific hub. She is passionate about utilizing geographic information systems and remote sensing methods and technologies to create geospatial products that will be beneficial to the community, especially to the underrepresented and marginalized. So ladies, let's all welcome Honey Fombuena.
Thank you for that, Chum. Is my voice clear or okay naman po?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you
po.
fine.
Let me share my screen first. I-off ko lang po yung video ko kasi sometimes nag-aano siya. Mas lumalabo yung voice. Alright, so hi everyone. I'm Honey from Buena, and today I'll share to you yung Openstreetmap journey ko so far. So this is my ROI. This is not yung return of investment na meaning, but for me, this is the radius of influence that I have. So first, I was born and raised in Parang Marikina. And I remember konting ambon lang doon, agad-agad bumabaha. And then, after 7 years of living in Marikina, we moved to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. It's such a change in the terrain. Dito naman, sobrang hindi bumabaha. Kasi pag bumaha na dito, baha na yung buong Metro Manila. So we are near the Sierra Madre Range as well. And then I studied in UP Diliman with the BS Geodetic Engineering degree program. So in my final year in the university, during that time, alam ko na yung how to map and what is mapping in GIS. But I had the chance to enroll to a geography class with Miss Oni as the professor. And there in that class, I learned my why. So I learned how counter mapping, what is counter mapping is. And I finally got the conviction na ito yung gusto kong maging purpose ng para saan at para kanino ako magmamapa. And right now, I am living in Novaliches, Quezon City. Actually, di na po ako umalis ng QC after UP. So this is my radius of influence. So let's move on sa OSM cycle or my OSM journey first. In my undergraduate years, I'm a user of the OSM data. So pag GE ka, usually, ang una mong ginagawa ay reconnaissance. Hinahanap mo yung control points kung saan kayo magtatayo ng equipment, GNSS or total station. So we use maps.me as our offline map application. So it's a mobile application. And during that time, I don't even know na OSM pala yung base map ng maps.me. And parang usually yung mga tao naman, hindi nila alam na gumagamit na pala sila ng OSM. And also, a common use for the OSM data ay yung building footprints for exposure data, especially when estimating the population. And also with my undergraduate thesis, I used highways and paths from OSM for road network analysis for the evacuation route of an earthquake scenario for Batasan Hills. And after that, with my final year in college, I joined UPRI Youth Mappers, and I met one of my greatest mentors, Miss Faye Andal. And through that, I was able to join Hot Philippines with the Philaware project. So later on, I will discuss more on what is the Philaware project, since it is one of my turning points in my OSM journey. And also, after becoming a mapper, I started knowing how to validate the OSM edits, and I became closer to the OpenStreetMap Philippines. Kasi kailangan natin malaman yung local context, what are the standards that we are using, and OSM Philippines are really champions in giving us these guidelines. So what is Philaware? So Philaware, the goal is to create a disaster risk reduction and integrated early warning and decision support system by incorporating several data layers from the OpenStreetMap. So ang pinakagusto ko sa experience ko with Philaware is parang naikutan ko lahat. I wore many hats in this project. So with Ms. Faye Andalas, our lead technical person or GIS associate or specialist, I was able to be a remote mapper for QC and Pampanga. Dito ko po nalaman kung paano gumamit ng ID editor, ng JOSOM. And then, after a while, I became a field data collector in Pampanga to gather information for critical infrastructure. So, nakikita niyo po on the right side yung mga pictures namin, which is actually mahirap ng mga panahong yun. because sobrang init and then we need to wear the face shields as well. Okay lang yung face mask pero yung face shield talagang tagaktak yung pawis mo. And then alongside by being a field data collector, I'm also an OSM trainer for LGUs of Pampangas, most especially from the MDR RMO. And also, na-promote po ako as a validator of the collected OSM data. And after that, nag-work ako sa Manila Observatory as a HEVRI mapper for South Asia. So HEVRI stands for Hazard, Exposure, Vulnerability, Risk, and Impact. So this is one example of the maps that we are making. And hindi ko napansin na ito na pala yung parang this is one of the stepping stones papunta dito sa next role ko, which is an AGIS associate for the Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific. So for my last role, I mapped Nepal. And for my recent role, I was able to go to Nepal. So last week lang po yan. So cherry on top na lang yung nagkaroon ako ng license last year as a geodetic engineer. So punta na po tayo sa why do we need women in Openstreetmap or OSM. So unfortunately, we are still underrepresented. So we should take up space. So as our last speakers has said na society restricts us from doing physically draining activities. May iba pong companies na hindi pa rin isinasama yung mga babae sa fieldwork. And we should break that bias. Also, few of us are actively contributing to the Openstreetmap. So marami pong studies na nagpapakita na only a few percentage of our active OSM mappers are female. But women can map, we can map because we are detail-oriented, we have strong determination, and we are technically capable, as you've seen from our previous speakers. Talagang sa pagdating sa pag-code, pagdating sa pagbamapa, kayang-kaya natin. So what can we do? We should engage and teach women how to map. We should take up space, bridge the gaps in a gendered geography, and add critical information na sa atin lang manggagaling, sa perspective lang natin nanggagaling. And we must raise our voices and utilize OSM as a platform in solving issues that matter to us. So examples na lang po ng maps that show our interest. For example, here is the field collected of VAUCs, or Violence Against Women and Children, offices and desks. So this is from the Philaware project as well. As you can see, 6 VAUC offices and 219 VAUC desks po yung na-map natin through that project. And lastly, yung breastfeeding station on Openstreetmap. So kaka-run ko lang nito kanina sa overpass. So these are all the areas where merong tag na baby_feeding is equal to yes, meaning this area is for breastfeeding. So with that po, if you have any questions or you would like your organization to conduct a training in OSM, you can just call me or you can just email me through my contact details. Thank you so much po.
Thank you, honey. It was a really good walkthrough of how you find your purpose. And you said that, you're looking for the para saan, para kanino ka nagmamapa. It's like that Nescafe ad about para kanino ka bumabangon. And also she emphasized very well about mentorship. And as women, we rise up by lifting each other up. So if you have someone in your workplace that needs mentoring, and also if you want to be mentored, just let that women inspiration know. And as women are awesome creatures, probably they will be willing to mentor you. So now we move on to our open forum and Q&A. So let me ask Nali or Lei, how is this going to work? So do we ask our participants here? Which, by the way, I want to hear one woo. Participants, are you still there, ladies? Let me hear you say woo.
Woo!
If you don't want, you can just put your woo on over at the chat. And also your questions. So now we will be taking questions for our speakers. Right. So Nali said that you can ask, you can just unmute yourself and ask your questions directly, or just raise your hand and we will call you on the floor. Or you can also put them here in the chat if you don't want to. There are many ways to ask questions. So let the questions flow. Okay, first we have a question for Miss Jelen Paclarin. So based on Honey's presentation, I'm reading this question over the chat. It's also on the chat. Based on Honey's presentation about BAO-C, do you have that data in your organization, the data about location of BAO-C?
Salamat. Thank you, Charm. No, actually, while listening, when Lay approached WAB, I was actually excited, no, upon hearing that there are women geomappers. Hindi ko alam kung tama ang aking language. Forgive me, no? Pero I was so happy kasi parang kagaya din nun sa Take Back the Tech, very few women really are going to technology. At even we have the numbers, but probably I don't where education is say na the government must follow yung aking internet. So just to be very straight, ito sa mga women's rights organizations and even ordinary women, no, when they wanted to ask for help. Ang magiging challenge lang talaga ay if these are functional. Actually, I wanted to type kanina na ibang-iba talaga ang pagbabae ang nagmamapa because we always see something na from our point of view, from our perspective, na some people will not be able to see it, no? Just because of their own experiences. May sarili kasi tayong experiences of oppression na tingin ko na napapalabas natin yon sa gantong gawain at nakakatuwa, no, na based on those experiences napapakita natin yung mga distinct needs and requirements ng isang na kinakailangan ng isang babae. So eto wala kami and hindi ko alam kung how the government would be able to access this. Kung open data ito, magandang makonect. Kaya sabi ko talaga, excited ako makinig ngayong araw na ito.
Okay, so I think that's very well put. And if you hear that, ladies, maybe it's a good chance for us to locate those centers and put it on the map. So, Ms. Jelen, I have a question on my end. You mentioned earlier about a different kind of mapping that you do in your organization. So you mentioned about mapping laws. So I'm curious about how this is done.
Medyo corny ata. But it's basically a listing of laws, no? A listing of what are the available laws for women and what it's like a research pa rin, but it's actually a listing of all the laws that covers women and highlighting how women can use this, no? So I'm not really sure kung meron ng nakamap na listahan. Before kasi meron, I remember may libro na parang compilation of all pertinent laws relating to women. Pero ngayon, I think wala akong makita. Hindi ko sure kung meron na updated. Na listahan lang talaga ng mga batas na puro kababaihan. So, very different yung amin kasi it's medyo boring kasi it's more of a research na nakasulat, yung mga batas, but it's like a listing also of the laws that women can use if in case they will file a case against, more on the legal side. Yes. Sumasama lang ako sa chicken para makibagay.
So para po itong knowledge mapping of specific laws that women can use in case if
Yeah.
they need it someday. Or all right. Any more questions for Miss Jelen? Okay, now I have a question for all of our three speakers over at the chat. So Lali said that she got it from Women in Geospatial. How will you react to a fellow woman saying she did not feel any bias in the workplace or in the society? So I think we can start with Miss Diane.
Oh, yeah. So as I mentioned kanina, yung based on my experience, yung ka-team ko kasi they didn't feel me like that. Pero I don't know if I can say this, pero there were times din na nafe-feel ko yun. Pero I think sa field na siya. So parang yung participants naman is parang hindi sila masyadong naniniwala na you can do it kasi you're a woman. So mas doon ko siya nafe-feel. Pero yung dito sa team ko itself, so I'm really thankful sa team ko na hindi ko talaga siya nafe-feel right now. Pero yun nga, sa fieldwork kasi parang iniisip kasi nila you're a woman, bakit ka naglalakad? Bakit ka nasa field? 'Di ba parang yung thinking nila is it should be a man na nasa field. So hindi ko alam kung paano ko siya i-explain na maayos, pero yeah. So at times nafe-feel ko rin naman siya, pero hindi lang mostly. So kaya parang for me as a woman in tech, parang gusto kong pangalan to. Parang gusto kong motivate yung other woman na kaya mo naman. I mean, bakit ka matatakot na hindi gawin yung yung alam mong kaya mo. So, you need to motivate other women para alam mo yun, when you parang gusto sabihin, parang gusto mong i-motivate lang din para mas ma-inspired sila to do what they want. And
That's very true. And I think in our experience, when you encourage someone, you also feel good about it. Na parang masarap din sa feeling na when you say compliments to your friends, to your colleagues at work, you encourage them to do this difficult thing that they're struggling to do. It also feels good on our end, and it also uplifts our spirits, and it also in the end encourages us to do something that is out of our comfort zone. So now I move on to Honey.
Yes, but I think if sa workplace po, then I would say that is a nice workplace to be on. And pero kung sa usapin po ng society, maybe I will encourage that woman to hear other stories. Maybe hindi lang niya napansin, maybe hindi lang siya aware of that kind of bias. Sometimes kapag narinig natin sa iba, saka lang natin maiisip na, ay oo nga, ako rin, naranasan ko rin yun. So I think yun po yung response ko. Thank you.
Miss Dylan.
Oo, kasi madalas pinalaki kasi tayo na parang not to question, to accept yung mga orders o yung mga bagay-bagay. Kaya minsan or madalas sa mga kapag lumalabas tayo, minsan may naiisip tayo pero iniisip natin baka lang nagiging malisyoso lang tayo or binibigyan lang natin ng issue. Pero ako
We tend to
naniniwala
question
ako.
ourselves, parang ganun po.
Yes, it's more parang yung burden sa atin, no. Siguro sa organization namin hindi to lumulutang kasi nga bilang isang feminist organization, pero ay nasubukan kasi pumasok sa isang mixed organization. At kitang-kita ko yun, for example, papagawin ako ng report pero magpe-present yung boss na lalaki. Well, hindi siya nangyayari sa org ko. Pag sabihin sa akin ng boss kong babae, dadagdag ko, mas mapapraning ako, ba't ako magpe-present? Dapat yung ganun ba? And then, there are also times no, in conferences na even as a feminist, minsan may mga nagmamansplain. Lagi ko sinasabi ito, mansplaining. Yung i-on yung mic. And then, you're not even finished. And then, they will explain on your behalf. No? And then, doon talaga, kailangan talaga ako, bago ako mag-set, titignan ko na ibang aking forma kapag karamihan ng kasama ko ay mga kababaihan. Mas mas relax ako, mas ako parang nagbibigay ng spasyo, ganyan. Pero pag ang kasama ko mga kalalakihan, lalo na pag na-feel ko na makukuhanan ako ng space, talagang kumakain ako ng space. Ibig sabihin, lalamunin ko yung space na para sa akin. Parang ganun. Because, makikita mo, mafe-feel mo eh. Isang example that tingin ko makaka-relate kayo, we went to a training ng isang government organization dealing in diving. Nagda-diving sila. Ang una kong tanong, tingin niyo po ba may discrimination kayong nararanasan? First day of the training, ang sabi nila wala. Okay, so hindi mo pinush. But the next day, when they realized that one of the main reason paano sila napopromote was dapat may diving sila experience. Ibig sabihin nakapag-dive sila as part of their research product. So nakita nila na kaya pala yung mga kababaihan mas madalas mababa position because they don't go into diving because binibigay nila sa mga lalaki. Sabi, sige lalaki na lang kasi too risky. So you see na tingin natin minsan yung ibang kalalakihan without even them knowing na because tingin natin it's too risky, tingin nila it's too risky for us, kukunin nila yung space na yun. Actually, we are also losing our space. We're losing our promotion. We're losing our capacity to learn from that experience. At yun yung tingin ko na dapat wag nating payagan, wag natin hayaan na mawala yung ating karapatan at kakayahan na mag-gain yung ating experience na yon. Kasi lagi ako naniniwala yung experience ng babae tsaka yung from our own, yung live realities natin at experiences natin ang ating laban, ang ating puhunan para sa isang mas magandang pagtatrabaho. Ako yun ang aking anong iyayabang ko sa mga kasama ko, yung experience ko bilang isang women's rights organization. Yun yung kayamanan ko na pwede kong ipanglaban kung kanino man. So, ayun yung nakikita ko sa inyo and talagang natutuwa talaga ako while listening to most of you.
Ma'am, very well said. I'm seeing all of the reactions dito sa Zoom and it's all hearts and some even posted a crying emoji because it was really well said and oftentimes the construct that society makes us follow is parang sinusundan na lang natin because well it's the status quo and we're not taught as you rightly mentioned to assert, you know, kasi like babae kesyo katulad ng Google kanina that the women needs to be modest, prim and proper. That was the expectation and unfortunately it's being taught to women as being girls and until they're adults until now and nakalimutan natin na we are awesome creatures and we can do what whoever or other people can do also. We just need to assert and take up that space actively. All right. So I think there's a question here about Safe Spaces Act. So I don't know. Can you unmute and ask your question, please?
Yeah, magandang araw po. Natanong ko lang po, kasi I'm just curious because the intersection of law and space matters. Like, we have the Safe Spaces Act and it has been there for a very long time. And tayo mga babae, parating may mga pabulong na babala na, oy, wag kang dumaan dyan, madilim dyan, may mga bastos dyan. Or, kung nasa U-Belt ka nag-aral, may exhibitionist dyan, may nakahabol dyan ng hubotubad, pabulong parate. Pero kahit kailan, hindi na mamapa ang mga espasyo kung saan laganap ang gantong klaseng pambabastos. Catcalling is so prevalent that we've learned to just ignore people. Pero iniisip ko lang, there is very strong physical element where men, or kung ano man sila matatawag, no, feel entitled to do that, feel empowered to do that. And hindi natin siya minamapa. Ang iniisip ko lang, if halimbawa may mga points, if we map it as points na itong mga lugar na to ay may catcalling incidents, di ba we can do a cluster spot analysis on that, see where it is dense, and maybe look at all where those points cluster and tingnan natin ano ba yung physical characteristics ng spaces na to, so that when we design streets, they are better than that. Kasi ang public space po, streets po ang pinaka-public na space na wala tayong choice kundi puntahan. We can opt not to go to a park, but our streets is our first and foremost public space that everyone should have enjoyment, no, in equal terms. And a lot of streets are not available to women partly because of this catcalling. Naisip ko lang, meron na po ba kayang nag-aral, nag-attempt na suriin yung mga espasyong ito? Yun lang naman po.
Thank you, Miss Giomili. And
Love na lang po,
whoever,
ma'am.
all right. So whoever, okay, I see somebody in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. So okay, according to Nali, this is some kind of a map. It's called safety pin. I also remember a web map before. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Miko here also remembers a map that it's like a crowdsourced map where people put in their experiences. And one of the experiences there that I remember that was placed in a location was that I was catcalled here. And similar experiences are placed all over that map as well. Can't remember that map exactly, but I think it's an international initiative that we can also bring here in the Philippines. And it's very uplifting to see that over at the chat people are acknowledging that this is a good initiative already, and we have all of the geoladies here that we can work together and create that map specifically, because I believe that also map is it can be as detailed as we talked about with as Diane mentioned earlier, but it can also be an expression of emotion. It can also convey an emotions like that, like in this particular place I was catcalled. This is where I would experience this kind of violence and things like that. And I think Miko has something to say regarding this topic. So Miko.
Hello everyone. So, pasensya nakikigulo ko at bored ako ngayong Sabado sa inyo. But I am very happy here. Ang gaganda ng mga binabanggit niyong sentiments and stories. And to add to that question, Ma'am Jong. Hi, Ma'am Jong. There was an effort, I believe, internationally. But nawawala kasi yung focus or para sa akin kapag ganung kalaking scale. Tapos kung saan very scattered siya all over the globe. So in the Philippines, we tried doing it sa Mapdex para i-map yung mga gantong eksena, especially for our trans siblings kasi very prone talaga sila sa ganon. Kaso parang we had a discussion within Mapdex whether what to highlight, whether we share the good stories ba or the bad stories, and medyo yung naging direction namin was towards to sharing yung mga good stories. But hearing the sentiments from all of the women here with us today makes us realize na mas naiaangat natin yung issue. Hindi natin na-cherry coat yung mga issue, yung mga gantong pangyayari. At I think it's high time that we could collaborate, GeoLadies, all the mappers and women mappers in the Philippines to mainstream this kind of map. Kasi if the data is available, I do think that the studies would come in eventually later on. Ganun din yung nangyari nun sa Mapdex. Walang data for LGBT spaces before, specifically, but etong mga past years, there were some researchers that reached out to us na kailangan ng interviews, kailangan ng data, and we give out it freely naman na wala ng ano. So I guess hearing itong webinar na to, itong session na to, parang na-reinforce yung, ako kasi mas nandun ako sa part na gusto natin i-highlight the good and the bad, diba? Ayun nga, trinay nga namin i-map yung mga crimes against trans women before, kaso hindi siya ganun lumipad kasi ang hirap maghanap ng mga cases na to at hindi siya madaling ilagay sa mapa. Mabigat siya, as a mapper, ang bigat niyang ilagay sa mapa. So I think, ayan, yung kay Ma'am Aji, we help then collaborate on that. Pero ang nagiging mahirap in such projects like this is kung paano siya papaliparin. The technology is there, pero we would really need the support from crowdsourcing information, reaching out to more women, reaching out to more people in the community para maging ma-mainstream yung ganito at mapakita yung importansya. Ayun lang yung thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miko. And I think Ma'am Jelen.
If I'm actually, bago pa dumating itong collaboration na to or this activity, I was actually looking for funds talaga to do this. Itong gusto pinag-usapan na ano, na mga nagbibigay swerte na nakakahanap ng pondo. But what we do, yun there at ano yung klase ng technology na niya gastos. But we are actually working. W is part of the interagency site services act. I think kung sa ang nakikita ko kasi dito media agency na to deploy MDA, for example, kailangan may connect na government action. Hindi nga yung binanggit ni there's a need for awareness raising ng mga tao, no, to reuse
So I think we lost Ma'am Jelen.
Yeah.
Ma'am John, do you have something to say also?
So, well, susugan ko lang kasi siguro
Ayan, sorry,
nawala
Ay,
si Ma'am
sige lang.
Jelen.
Oo,
Let's
sorry,
have-
dito na ako.
let's have
Pero
her
please,
back.
go ahead, Giomi. I'll just talk after mo.
Apo. Siguro iba po kasi ang pinanggagalingan ko. Mas nasa urban design and management, no? Why is it, ako kasi I like walking so much. So, why is it that if I'm in another country, I can walk in the midnight nang mag-isa ako and I feel safe? Bakit sa sarili kong bansa hindi ko magawa yung paglalakad na ito ng ganong klase, yung pakiramdam, yung kapanatagan ko? Iniisip ko lang po, well, syempre po, kaya feeling ko sa akin, at least in my head, what is very clear is that if we map out all of these spaces and if we highlight the negative, parang siguro baka may mali lang sa disenyo, may mali sa pag-iilaw, baka may mali, hindi natin malalaman, ang sa akin lang, hindi natin malalaman kung anong mali sa mga espasyong ito kung hindi natin siya gagawing visible for other people to see and appreciate. Siguro po, dahil ang interest ko ay sa maraming bagay, no? Pero yung street design is very critical eh. So, what are streets that are, sabi nga nila, on a human scale, what are walkable streets, what are safe streets, ay malaki po yung pakiramdam kong magbabago sa ating mga Pilipino kung magiging maganda yung karakter ng mga lugar na to. So, although si Safe Spaces Act ay nandyan, pero aantayin ba natin may mag-catcall, no? So, kung madidesenyo natin siya ng mas maayos, ng mas maganda, ng mas ligtas para sa lahat, bakit hindi? Feeling ko yun yung sa akin na pinanggagalingan. Pero gusto ko pong marinig sa pananaw ng mga kasama natin, lalong-lalo na sa legal and the geospatial component of it, kung saan kaya natin pwedeng pagtulungan yung work na to, because I see many things coming out of it po. Maraming salamat po ulit.
Thank you, Miss John. So I think this is a very clear call to action to everyone in here. What is our next step? It's now, well, it's been a problem for a long time about safe spaces and places and about women, feeling safe in their own environment, and that is not happening in the society today. And I think we are all here together, and as mom as mom rightly pointed out earlier in our webinars, there is a future in movement building, and all of here us with who are with us today, we can collectively answer that call to action and create this map. All right. I think we have a lot of mappers here already in this call, and we can just move on to creating and to answering that call to action in terms of a map. So I think marami dito pwede mag-lead on that aspect. We can quickly create a working document, and we can share it with everyone here. And I think that would be a very good output for this webinar. And as all of our speakers today and our participants today so far emphasize that we need to make space and we need to own that space. And we can do that by mapping the space. Okay, that's a very good open forum and question and answer. So thank you for our speakers and also our participants. So now we're going to take a short break, and that break will be filled by us answering a survey. So I will just post a survey over at our chat. And it's a very quick survey. You can finish it for 2 minutes. So this survey is actually a data portrait. So if you're not familiar with the data portrait, your answers to that survey will be turned into an illustration or a portrait. And we will send it to you probably in a week's time if you provide your email over at the chat. And after you fill up this survey, just let me know at the chat also, and then we can move on to our next speaker. All right. I think Lay now is a good time for some background music. Okay, so please fill up that survey and create your own data portraits. I want to see what kind of portraits you guys will be creating based on your answers. And get a drink, stretch out your legs for a little bit, and we can meet back at, Nali mentioned we can go back at 4:30 p.m. So that's 7 minutes from now. 4:30. Did everyone get a chance to get their drink and get a bit of a stretch as well? Let me see a yes on the chat if you're already here, if you're already back. Or maybe your favorite color or something like that. Okay, yes, from Nali. And her favorite color is pink. Okay, Miss Jelen is going to leave for another meeting. Thank you, Miss Jelen, for providing your very inspiring words for us today. And we hope to see you in the future.
Salamat. Thank you very much. Nag-iwan din ako ng message kay Lay. Pa-relay na lang, Ray. Good luck sa buong
Maraming
GeoLadies. Thank you
salamat
very much.
po.
Okay, bye.
All right, are we all back? Can I see the yeses over at the chat? Okay. So I think we need to start with a little bit of icebreaker before we move on. And I also would like to thank everyone for filling up our form. And let me tell you that for everyone who filled up that form, let me see, I was looking at the answers here. So for the first question of how did you celebrate it? The prevailing answer would be by participating in various celebrations, probably like this one. And a headliner for a description of women is women are all inspiring. They are strong and also they're badasses. And I also would like to report for the question that if you have you been empowered by women in your life? Everybody answered yes. So that's a very good win for everyone here. Okay, so let's do some icebreaker. So let me share my screen again. Let me find that screen first. Here we go. All right, so I have a question first for for Nali. Is there a winner for our icebreaker for this time?
Of
First two or top scorer?
just one.
Just one. The one who will answer. So I have, I think, like 7 slides or 8 slides. Who tops, who has the most correct answer will win. Okay, for this icebreaker part. So I think at the chat is where you're going to put your answers. And I would need the help from our GeoLadies here to just tally the scores. So our first icebreaker is icebreakers. Wow. Is famous Pinays. It's an emoji quiz. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but it will be a set of emojis, and then you will guess who that famous Pinay is. Are we clear? Let me know at the chat if it's clear. So basically, it will show you a set of emojis describing somebody, and then you will tell us the name over at the chat. Okay? Okay, very good. So let's move to the first one. First one, go. Okay, I think Honey is the fastest. It's Heidi Diaz. Oh, wait, okay. You also pointed out that the spelling is wrong. So I think it will go to Mom Jong. All right. So Mom Jong, 1 point. Next one. This person is headline recently. Yes, Honey gave us a clue. But who is she? I'm Maria Reza. But is the spelling correct? Also not sure. Okay, I think Mom Job is killing this game because of spellings. Okay, it's Maria Reza. It's like first Nobel Peace Prize winner. That's the fit. How about this one? I like the finger. It's next president. Honey got it first. She said BP Lenny, but Mom Jom is really good, and she said Lenny Robredo. I think, guys, Mom Jom is winning this game, so you need to put your A game for the next one. We move on to the next one. Yes, sorry, but to be clear, let's just use full name. Okay, ready for the next one? Next one. Okay, it's Lenny Robredo. Next. First name, last name. For this lady. Okay, honey, you got it. It's Leia Salon. I put in here the crying emoji face because of Les Miserables. Next one. So that's 1 point for honey. Next. How about this person? Hmm. Nali gave us a clue. She is a Miss Universe. Okay, Van, you got it. It's Catriona Gray. So let's see the spelling. Well, I for this one I spelled it out. I use cat, tree, an O face, and I think this is a country. Yes, it's Catriona Gray. But let me check who got the spelling correctly. Van got it correctly with spelling gray with an A. Next one. Anybody can guess this one? I will give you the second line. She is an astrophysicist. I'm not sure if she worked in NASA. I think Mom John got it. It's Dr. Reina Reyes. I put this black hole right front. And her name is actually for Queen, and Reyes is like some royalty, something like that. That's her name. Okay, next one. Oh, I'm not sure if it's the last, but let's see. This one, I think this is the last one. Yes, it's another. Nali is just giving us clue. It's a very heartwarming fight that I also watched myself unfold during the Olympics. Anybody care to guess? But Nali said that. Okay, Van Galen's Nesty. All right. Who won? How many counts does Mom Jom have correctly? So here are all the answers. Okay, Mom Jom got 4 points, and then Van, followed by Van 2, and Honey with with one guess. So congratulations, Ma'am Jom, and your prize will be taken care of by now. All right, so that's a very good icebreaker for everyone. So these women right here, they break boundaries and they put their foot forward as good examples for women, and really they showed what Pinays can do in an international stage, and even for the case of Catriona Gray in the universal stage. So now we move on to our next. Let me just close my screen first. Let me move on to our next activity. So, but let me introduce our next speaker. So, our next speaker is a geolady herself. So, Faye Andal will be our speaker for the introduction to Openstreetmap. And Faye is a WebGIS data specialist at in the NOAA Center and NOAA Center WebGIS component under the University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, UPRI, and is also a data quality specialist for Where is My Transport. She also worked as Hot Philippines Country Technical and GIS specialist. She is a strong advocate of open data and free and open source software for geospatial applications, FOSS4G. She has also been doing volunteer mapping for OpenStreetMap Philippines since 2013 and has been to different provinces across the Philippines to train students, local government offices, non-government organizations, and other stakeholders on how to use OpenStreetMap and other free and open source geospatial applications. So everyone, let's welcome Ms. Faye Andal. The floor is yours, Faye.
Thank you, Ate Cham. I'll share my screen. Ayan. So, okay pa ba kayo dyan, girls? Medyo long yung event natin, pero vibe check muna tayo. Isang heart react naman yan. Heart reacts naman dyan, mga girls. Kung
Can I see the
alive pa
hearts?
tayo lahat. Yan. Alive pa. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I want to see how to make it okay.
Okay, so our next session or activity is about using OpenStreetMap. But before that, i-introduce ko muna sa inyo kung ano nga ba si OpenStreetMap kasi nauulit na siya kanina pa ng mga speakers natin since actively involved din sila or directly involved din sila sa OpenStreetMap. So, nasabi naman na kanina, so ako si Faye and I'm working as a WebGIS data specialist sa UPRI NOAA Center, and I also am a regional ambassador for Youth Mappers where I recruit student organizations and universities para maging part ng network ng Youth Mappers and maging involved din sa community of OpenStreetMap. And I also do volunteer works for OpenStreetMap Philippines since 2013. So, ayun, medyo matagal na din ako dito sa community and marami na din akong na-train, na turuan kung paano mag-OpenStreetMap and magamit pa ito sa kanilang applications or use cases para sa community. So, ano nga ba si OpenStreetMap? If familiar kayo sa Google Maps or Google Earth, kasi parang sila yung talagang masikat, 'di ba, sa market. Halos same lang din si OpenStreetMap, but ayan, ipapakita natin through this presentation yung differences. So, ito yung si OpenStreetMap. Ganito yung user interface niya. So, medyo kamukha siya ng Google, di ba? Google Maps. So, dito meron tayong search box and then you can press go para magdiretso doon sa place or sa area na gusto nyong i-search. And then dito sa right side, meron tayong different configuration tool. So may zoom in, zoom out, and yung mga layers na pwede nating i-on, yung legend, yung mga part ng map, dito natin makikita. And then yung map itself, so dito kayo pwedeng maglaro kung saan nyo gustong pumunta doon sa area, kung ano yung hinahanap nyo, makikita nyo dito sa map. And then yung other features pa ni Openstreetmap is you can actually search for GPS traces, or kung gusto nyo ma-visualize yung GPS traces, you can also do that. And then you can also read some user diaries from the community or from the people na nagko-contribute dito sa Openstreetmap. So parang blog. Yan, dito nyo siya makikita. And then some information on copyright and the license ni Openstreetmap data. And then you can also create your profile or your account dito sa OSM since open source nga siya. So everyone can actually contribute to the map data. So, yan. So if familiar din kayo sa Wikipedia, so basically Wikipedia din siya pero for maps or of maps. Ito ay crowdsourced and community project para maimapa yung buong mundo. Hindi lang siya limited to Philippines, to Metro Manila, but the whole world. So ano nga ba yung mga pwede nating imapa? So lahat ng naiisip nyo or nakikita nyo na nasa ground, pwede natin siyang imapa sa Openstreetmap. So ano yun? Yung mga milk tea shop, yung mga park, mga parking lot, yung schools, yung mga safe spaces, katulad ng yung mga breastfeeding station, yung mga safe spaces for women, for LGBT, pwede natin silang imapa dito sa Openstreetmap. And hindi lang platform or tool yung Openstreetmap, but it's also a community of mappers or volunteers para syempre mag-increase yung growth ng map data natin and yung volunteers natin for OSM. So sa Philippines specifically, meron tayong tinatawag na Local Openstreetmap Philippines Community. And para siyang umbrella of community dito sa Philippines. And under OSM Philippines, may mga small groups and organizations, advocate groups na nagpupush sa objectives sa Openstreetmap for open data and crowdsourced mapping. So andito si Geoladies si Geoladies na Openstreetmap community. So si Geoladies is, ayun nga, katulad ng na-mention ni Ate Cham kanina, represents women for geospatial and nagpo-push na mas ma-increase pa yung spaces natin for women dito sa map, yung representation of leadership and map data. And then we also have MapEx. Syempre, ally din natin sila sa Geoladies. So sila naman is nagpo-push or nagmamap ng LGBT spaces and safe spaces dito sa Philippines. And also, I think they're also helping other communities across the world para maimapa din yung mga safe spaces nila. And also, apart from the safe spaces, they also map HIV facilities and services dito sa Philippines para mas maging aware or informed din yung mga community members nila on these types of facilities. And we also have si mental health awareness group na mamap naman ng mga mental health services and facilities natin dito rin sa Philippines. So itong mga to is mga advocate groups na ginagamit yung Openstreetmap as their platform for mapping and crowdsourcing information para doon sa mga advocacies nila. So aside from these groups, meron din tayong focused on humanitarian mapping such as Openstreetmap Humanitarian Openstreetmap Team or HOT and Ministry of Mapping. And bukod pa doon, meron din tayong youth mappers, local chapters dito sa Philippines. So ito naman is mga student organizations ng universities na ginagamit rin yung Openstreetmap para sa kanilang project. So hindi lang siya for advocacy, but for other real-world problems such as poverty, disasters, food security, and so on. So, I hope after this workshop, maging part din kayo ng overall or yung ecosystem ng Openstreetmap para mas madami din tayong ma-contribute na map data. And of course, marami rin kayong makilala doon sa community because sobrang inspiring ng mga tao doon. And ito lang yung ilan sa mga photos ng community members natin or community mismo natin sa Openstreetmap. Since si Openstreetmap din is community of mapper siya sa buong mundo. So bawat country din meron silang Openstreetmap local community. So for example, dito sa kaliwa, ito yung Openstreetmap Indonesia. So yan, syempre taga Indonesia sila and binubuo din sila ng iba't ibang volunteers from different parts of Indonesia, and part din ng community is yung Hot Indonesia. And then we also have, syempre, ito yung local community of Openstreetmap dito sa Philippines. So I think ito yung last meet up ng community as a whole. So sinelebrate namin yung anniversary or birthday ni Openstreetmap sa isang co-working space sa Ortigas or Green Hills. Yeah. So 15th birthday ito ni Openstreetmap. So ayan, nag-gather kami, kumain lang, ganyan. And syempre may mga mapping activities kaming ginawa para ma-celebrate yung birthday ni Openstreetmap. So as you can see, marami na din women na part ng community. Kasi before, as in way back 2013, nung nagsa-start pa lang ako mag-volunteer sa OSM, parang kaming dalawa pa lang ni Diane talaga, ni Diane Bencito yung part ng community na babae, and si Ate Jen din. Pero through the years, nag-grow din yung community of mappers natin dito sa OSM Philippines. So, ano na sila Lay, sila Nali, sila Monica, ayan, and nanganak pa kasi nandiyan na rin yung MapBex, yung mental health awareness, and so on. So, nakakatuwa na nasaksihan ko rin yung growth ng Openstreetmap Philippines through the years dahil sa mga tao na na-involved din dito. So, hindi lang porket mapper ka, yun lang yung member ng community, but kahit anong contribution mo dito sa Openstreetmap, kesyo nag-organize ka ng event, ganyan, or nagko-contribute ka sa mga learning material ni OSM, and part ka na rin automatically ng community. Hindi lang siya restricted for mappers. So, as I've mentioned, sobrang diverse ng community ng OSM. So, hindi lang siya limited to GIS people or mapping specialists, but anyone, as in anyone can contribute to the map data or to OSM mismo. So, ito lang yung ilan sa mga groups or people na nagko-contribute sa OSM para lang makita natin yung diversity noong mappers dito sa Openstreetmap. So, meron tayong mga LGU employees or mga local government staff na nagmamapa sa Openstreetmap. So, usually, before LGUs talaga yung tinatap natin na magmapa sa Openstreetmap, kasi nagagamit nila yun for their use cases sa government. So for example, for disaster risk reduction or for their local planning, ganyan, para rin ma-promote natin yung openness ng data natin doon sa mga LGUs, and eventually magamit siya ng buong community natin dito sa Philippines. So before, way back 2013, nakipag-partner din yung OSM Philippines sa different LGUs sa Pampanga, such as Candaba, Lubao, and Guagua, para maimapa yung Openstreetmap data for critical facilities and yung mga building footprints and road network. Ayan. So, kasama ko rin dito si Diane sa pagtitrain ng mga LGUs na gumamit ng OSM. And up until now, si Lubao, sila yung gumagamit ng Openstreetmap talaga. And, si Guagua, Si Guagua yung actively gumagamit ng OSM and nag-update pa rin ng OSM data. And apart from that, meron din tayong mga bike commuters na ginagamit or nagko-contribute sa Openstreetmap by tracking their routes, yung mga nadaanan nila sa pagbabike, and then they upload their GPS tracks dito para magamit din ng community mappers natin para maimapa yung mga bicycle routes or cycle routes dito sa Philippines. So ito example na to is from Sir Maning actually. So kanina nababanggit na rin si Sir Maning yan. Lodi nating lahat. So si Sir Maning isa rin siyang mapper and biker from Marikina City. So before and hanggang ngayon naman actually nagbabike siya and then ina-upload na yung mga map data or yung mga GPS tracks sa Openstreetmap. Ayan. So pwede siyang magamit for different use cases. So ayan. And then meron din tayong mga college student na nagmamapa sa Openstreetmap. So before pa dumating yung youth mappers, may mga students na nagko-contribute sa OSM. So before ito yung photo na to or map na to is sa UP Los Baños. So ayan, kung mapapansin nyo, hindi lang masyado halata. Yung mga green na dot dito is mga puno doon sa campus and meron dong student si Ian na minapa niya yung individual trees, as in yung ganong level of detail is very important din sa Openstreetmap, and yung ganong level of detail is pwede nating may add sa OSM, no? So for example, itong mga puno, as in pangalan ng puno, yung scientific name nilagay din niya, so sobrang detail talaga. So ito rin yung pwede nating makontribute sa OSM by adding local knowledge and other information sa OSM. And we also have like LGUs na nagko-contribute to the map data of OSM, like yung mga parish volunteers. So ito rin, meron din silang sariling application na kung saan nila ginamit yung OSM. So sa kanila is for disaster risk reduction para makatulong doon sa community within Quiapo para mas maging proactive sila sa pagdating sa disaster risk reduction. And paano nga ba tayo magko-contribute sa Openstreetmap? So there are actually a lot of different ways to contribute to Openstreetmap data. So yung unang-una is by going out and doing some survey. So ito talaga yung mag-field ka, lalabas ka, magko-collect ka ng information from the ground by using different tools and technologies. So, pwede rin naman by doing the traditional way. So, yung paggamit ng mga pen and paper, pag-write down ng notes para makapagmapa sa Openstreetmap. So, may gumagamit actually pa ng mga ganito. Syempre, hindi masyado sanay sa paggamit ng mga mapa. So, mas confident sila and mas comfortable sila gumamit ng or sa pag-notes or pagdodrawing ng mapa nila from fieldwork. And then we also have field papers. Ito naman is also from OSM. So magpiprint ka dito ng OSM data from Openstreetmap, of course. And then merong mapiprint na QR code and then mga reference points para kapag in-scan mo siya or pinicturean mo siya after kayo mag-field, yun ay magiging reference point mo for mapping. So basically, magdodrawing ka dito ng information na na-collect mo from the ground and then i-upload mo siya for your reference pag magmamapa ka na or i-upload mo na siya sa OSM. So, ayan, malaking bagay na nag-field din yung mga volunteers para mas rich yung information na nakakollect natin or na-upload din natin sa OSM. But syempre, given the situation ngayon, for example, na meron tayong pandemic, medyo hindi pa safe lumabas. So meron pang ibang other ways para makapag-contribute tayo sa Openstreetmap data. So ito naman is yung ilan sa mga mobile applications or mobile app na pwede nating magamit for contributing sa OSM. So una is si Mapillary. So kung familiar kayo sa Google Street Images, syempre sa Google yon. Hindi nila yon share, hindi siya open to the public. But si Mapillary siya yung counterpart ni Google Street Images. So dito you can actually take videos or photos sa street and then you can actually upload it to OSM, and available din siya publicly para magamit ng ibang users for their own consumption and for mapping syempre. So yan, if you're interested, you can go to Mapillary para makapag-try mag-contribute doon sa area. Dito sa Philippines, I think very limited pa rin yung Mapillary images natin. So I hope after this and when it is safe, you can also do your photos or take photos outside and then upload your data to Mapillary. And then we also have MapSwipe. So if you're familiar with Bumble or Tinder, yan, di ba? So swipe left, swipe right, para kayo makamit ng the one. Dito naman sa map swipe, it's for fun then, and it's a gamified version ni OpenStreetMap. So dito they use satellite images, and then you can select ano yung grid na may information or feature na hinahanap ng specific project na yon. So for example, this specific project is looking for buildings only. So hahanapin natin dito sa grids na to kung alin yung may buildings based from the imagery. And then swipe if you're done, and then swipe ulit kapag natapos ka na. So more points din kasi meron ding leaderboard dito sa map swipe. So ayan, if bored kayo sa Bumble or sa Tinder, ayan, map swipe na lang yung gamitin nyo pag nabobore kayo. And then we also have Gomap. For iOS devices naman ito. So dito is actually magko-contribute ka talaga ng mga POIs or building footprints or roads, not roads, hindi pa pala siya possible, but POIs and buildings sa OpenStreetMap. Pero through your phone. Kasi usually pag nagko-contribute tayo sa OpenStreetMap is through laptops or desktops by going to ID editor or GeoSM. Pero dito, through your mobile phone. So, ayun. Medyo, sanayan siya kasi medyo mahirap siya mag-edit kapag ka sa phone. Pero ayun, it's available for use then. So, ito naman, sa Android naman, meron tayong OSM and Maps.me, Vespucci. But sa iOS, isa lang talaga siya, which is Gomap. Ayun. And syempre, as I mentioned earlier, meron tayong mga ginagamit na editors for mapping or for contributing to OSM. So, unang-una doon is si ID editor. Ito ay for beginner mappers. User-friendly naman siya. Madali siyang gamitin. Very straightforward. And then we also have, not here dito, wala dito sa slide, but we also have JOSM or Java OpenStreetMap. So, ginagamit siya usually ng mga advanced OSM users na kasi mas marami siyang features na nai-offer sa mga mappers natin. But dito sa activity natin, we'll be using ID editor para mas friendly lang. Ayun. And then we also have a tool called Tasking Manager developed by Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. So ito naman is used for collaborative mapping like ganitong event like Mapathon. So dito kasi sa OSM, di ba, pwedeng sabay-sabay mag-edit yung mga tao specifically dun sa areas na gusto nilang imapa. So para ma-handle natin siya in a structured way, ginagamit natin itong tasking manager ni Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. So later, i-introduce ko sa inyo ano yung project na gagawin natin for building footprints mapping. So ayan. And then, just to give you a concrete example or concrete examples kung paano nagagamit si OSM for different applications or use cases. So, ito is yung nasa left is yung web map na ginawa ng Mapbex community natin. So, since they're collecting information and mapping the HIV facilities and support for their community, tinranslate nila yung data na yon into a web map para nga mas maging visually appealing din siya sa users or sa community nila, and magamit din yung mapa na yon for other users. Kasi dito mas makikita mo kung nasa na mismo yung mga HIV centers na minapa nila. So mas magiging appealing siya and magiging useful din siya sa community. And meron din namang gumagamit ng OSM data for their planning purpose. So for example, itong sa Liberia, so nagmapa sila ng healthcare facilities during pandemic for Liberia's Ministry of Health. Magamit ng government din nila itong data na to for their response for COVID-19. Ayan. So ito lang yung ilan sa mga use cases ni OpenStreetMap, but sobrang dami pang pwedeng gawin sa map data basta malikot lang yung utak ninyo. So for example, other examples pa is for disaster risk reduction. For example, yung ginagawa namin sa NOAA Center or sa UPRI. So nagmamap kami ng building footprints ng critical critical facilities such as schools, such as hospitals, police stations, fire stations, and then we intersect the data from NOAA Center, yung mga hazard maps for flood, storm surge, and landslides. And then mako-compute namin ilan yung buildings na exposed dito sa mga different hazards and ilang tao yung pwedeng maapektuhan doon sa hazard na yun. So yung information from Openstreetmap is very important for different organizations like us para maka-help sa communities like LGUs sa planning purposes. Okay? So, paano nga ba tayo magmamap sa OSM? So, kanina na-present na natin yung different methodologies kung ano yung pwedeng gawin pag magmamapa. So, ito naman is kung paano tayo mismo magmamapa sa OSM. So, since we're using Tasking Manager for our activity today, ayun, ituturo ko sa inyo yung 4 easy steps to map doon sa Tasking Manager or sa OSM mismo. So, yung una is, since we're remote mapping lang, di naman tayo lalabas ngayon since hindi pa masyado safe. Ayan, remote mapping muna. And then, yung reference na gagamitin natin while mapping is yung mga satellite images from Maxar, from Bing, from Mapbox, kung ano yung pinaka-updated doon. And through the imagery, hanapin natin yung kailangan nating imapa, which is, for example, yung mga building footprint. So, just, yung first step is to find. So, find the building doon sa satellite imagery natin. And then next, we should trace yung building na found natin or na-find natin. So once na nakita na natin yung building na yon, yung mukhang building na yon doon sa imagery, kailangan natin siyang i-trace. And then dito sa OSM, ipapakita ko naman siya later, meron tayong options na ginagamit for mapping. So, meron tayo for point, for line, and for area. So, si point, ginagamit siya usually for standalone objects or features sa Openstreetmap. For example, sa isang malaking mall, maraming mga shops doon sa loob. So, yung mga shops na yun, for example, Jollibee, McDonald's, ganyan, kailangan natin silang imapa. But, ang gagamitin natin para maipapa yung mga yon is not a building, but an individual point. So, gagamitin natin si point to map those. And then, si line naman, usually ginagamit siya for mapping roads or highways or rivers or streams, yung mga waterways natin, or power lines, ganyan, or contour. So, pwede natin silang imap through clicking the line feature. And then lastly, meron tayong area. So dito naman is minamapa natin yung mga parks, yung mga buildings, lakes, or other areas na enclosed sa isang polygon. So kapag magmamapa tayo ng buildings, area yung gagamitin natin. Okay? And then once na na-trace na natin siya, yung next step natin is itatag siya. So, lalagyan natin siya ng label. So, ayaw natin ng walang label, diba? So, kailangan meron tag yung mga map features na tinatrace natin. So, by adding a tag, meron tayong mga standard format sa pag-a-add ng tag, which I'll show you later sa demo. But, yung mga building footprints natin, kailangan nakatag siya kahit yung generic tag lang for building, which is building is equal to yes, or building lang. But if you're familiar doon sa area, you can add more information doon sa building na yan. For example, if the building's use is for commercial, pwede natin siyang itag as building is equal to commercial. Or for example, you identify the building as a school, pwede natin siyang itag as a school as long as walang other use yung building na yon, but yung school lang. And then lastly, once you've tagged the building or the object that you mapped, we have to square the area or the building para mas neat siya tingnan sa mapa. Kailangan natin siya i-orthogonalize or i-perfect square by hitting the Q doon sa keyboard ninyo para mag 90 degrees lang yung corner nung mga building na minamapa natin. So applicable yung Q sa mga buildings or sa mga polygons na ginagawa natin na perfect yung sides niya or yung corners niya. But if mga POI, no need to square naman yung mga building or yung minapa ninyo. Ayun, so tandaan, 4 steps, find, trace, tag, and square. And then, hindi pa siya matatapos dito pa sa pag-square. But we have to save our work. Kasi syempre, hindi siya mag-appears for other users if hindi natin siya i-upload or is-save sa database ni Openstreetmap. So, ang recommended actually is every 10 edits is i-upload na siya. Since yun nga, sabay-sabay nagmamapa yung mga tao dito sa Openstreetmap. So, para maiwasan natin na magkaroon ng conflicts doon sa mapa natin, ay i-save natin siya agad or frequently. Ayun. So, and then since you're using nga yung tasking manager, since mamimili kayo doon ng grid na imamapa ninyo, kapag natatapos na kayong mag-map or edit, you have to mark your task as completely mapped. Otherwise, you have to say na hindi mo siya natapos or meron din dong option para masabi na hindi mo siya matapos kasi the imagery is bad. So for example, cloudy yung imagery or sobrang baba ng resolution, hindi mo talaga kaya ma-identify through the imagery yung mga buildings na kailangan mo imapa. Or simply because hindi mo siya matapos kasi may other things ka pa na kailangang gawin. Ayun. So, you can be honest and it's just used para din mag-guide yung other users or mappers kung ano na yung status nung namapa mo. So, ayun. Let's be friendly din sa pag-a-add ng mga comment or pag-leave ng comment kasi we don't want the platform to be intimidating to other users kasi yun yung iniiwasan natin para maka-retain din tayo ng users dito sa Tasking Manager or sa Openstreetmap mismo. Ayun. Just some reminders when you map. So if you're mapping a building, so just make sure na you square yung sides ng building. So meron naman tayong shortcut for that. So once you have mapped and tagged the building, you can press Q para ma-square yung corner ng building. But for example, merong mga building kayo na map na circular yung shape niya. For example, dome, ganon, or parang araneta, ganyan, coliseum na pabilog yung itsura niya sa top view. Pwede nyo rin siya i-map by creating a polygon and then press O para maging circular yung building na yon. Okay, and then other reminders pa, ito very important, dapat yung mga buildings na minamap natin ay merong spaces in between. So lagyan natin ng konting social distancing yung mga buildings natin. So hindi lang siya for pandemic. Dito din sa map natin sa Openstreetmap, kailangan meron onting space sa pagmamapa between the buildings. Kasi iniiwasan natin na magkaroon ng overlapping buildings unless they definitely should. But as much as possible, hindi dapat sobrang magkakadikit yung mga building natin. Hindi sila pwede mag-snap kasi mag-e-error yon before nyo siya i-upload. So, mas mahirap pa siyang i-resolve later on. So, make sure na mag-zoom in enough kayo para magkaroon ng spaces in between yung mga buildings na minamap nyo. And then, remember to tag or add a label, di ba? Ayaw natin talaga ng walang label sa mga may namapa natin sa OSM. Kasi automatically marked as invalid din yon kapag wala siyang tag or label. So sa mapa natin, kapag wala siyang tag, yung mga buildings is colored white. So ibig sabihin, untag siya. And then once na meron na siyang tag, nilagyan niyo siya ng attribute, magiging color pink siya. Okay? So other reminder then is when the building is covered by tree, please try your best pa rin to cover or trace or map yung building as closely and accurately as possible. So wag niyong iwasan yung tree, but isipin niyo walang tree dito sa area na to or for example, hindi lang tree, cloud. Pagka may cloud or may ulap dito sa imagery, ayun, just try your best to create a polygon na perfect pa din yung corners niya. Okay? So, ayun, that's it for the buildings. And then, since we're promoting women's spaces din dito sa OSM, papakita ko lang din sa inyo yung ilang tags na ginagamit natin for mapping women's spaces sa OSM. So, hindi lang siya limited dito sa ipapakita ko, but if you have also other features na you wanna include sa map data natin sa OSM, you can do so naman. But ito yung prominent, I think, sa community. So first is yung mga fertility clinic natin or hospitals. So ito yung corresponding tags. Just take note of this na lang, but we'll provide it with you later. And then we also have maternity and midwifery clinics. So ito rin yung corresponding tag. Healthcare is equal to midwife. And then for women and child spaces, we have violence against women desks. So ang tag niya is amenity is equal to social facility. And then we also have a description is equal to VAW. So kailangan pareho silang included sa tag ng specific VAUC. And then we also have women and child-friendly spaces by adding amenity is equal to shelter, and then description is equal to WCFC. And then we also have a residential care facility, or yung tag niya is social facility is equal to shelter, and then description is equal to RCF, or short for residential care facility. And then apart from those, meron din tayong breastfeeding stations and changing tables. So ito yung usually nakikita natin sa mga CR ng malls or sa iba pang restaurants din. So ang corresponding tag nila is amenity is equal to kung anumang facility yon. So for example, mall nga siya. So pwede nating i-add yung tag for mall. And then on top of that, we can add baby feeding is equal to yes. And changing tables is equal to yes. And then we also have other amenities pa for women is yung mga vending machine natin na nagsiserve ng mga sanitary napkins and other feminine hygiene. So ang corresponding tag for those are amenity is equal to vending machine and vending is equal to feminine hygiene. Since kapag vending machine lang, syempre, iba-iba naman yung vending machine na meron tayo. So, para lang ma-identify na for feminine siya or feminine hygiene siya, i-add natin to. Okay? And then, if wala dito sa mga nabanggit, yung mga facilities or spaces na gusto nating itag, you can also check this wiki page. So wiki.openstreetmap.org/wiki/tagging_in_support of women and girls. So you can check that. And if you also have other facilities pa na wala rin doon sa wiki, you can also raise it, and then let's see if ano yung mga corresponding tag for those. So I think that's it for the presentation. But before we proceed doon sa mismong hands-on activity, i-demo ko muna sa inyo para mas ma-visualize nyo kung paano magmapa sa Openstreetmap. But ang project or ang task na gagawin natin is under this specific project from Action of Economic Reform or AER. So 1188.3. So, ayan. But, ayan, mag-demo lang ako very, very quickly ng pag-edit sa OSM. So, again, kailangan natin ng account sa Openstreetmap bago tayo makapag-edit sa OSM. So, I hope meron na kayong account or at least later mag-register kayo for an account para makapag-contribute din kayo sa map data natin. And, ayan. So, eto na si OSM. So, ayan, makikita nyo, pwede kayo mag-search. Ayan, ng gusto nyong puntahan. So, for example, yung hometown gusto nyong imapa ngayon. You can definitely type it and search it and go. And then, kung makikita nyo, ito yung existing map data natin sa OSM. Ayan. You can zoom in, zoom out, and then tingnan nyo kung ano yung mga kulang or kailangang i-update sa OSM. Kung nandiyan na ba yung bahay nyo, yung mga favorite places to go. Ayan, check nyo mabuti. Kung saan kayo nag-date, kung saan kayo nagpakasal, mga ganyan, pwede nyang i-mapa dito. Okay, so I'll show you how to edit mismo sa OSM. So, meron tayong edit button dito sa upper left, katabi ng logo ni OSM. So, i-click natin yung drop down and then click edit with ID kasi ito yung magiging editor natin for today. So, click edit with ID and then it will redirect you doon sa ID editor. So, malalaman nyo na ID editor siya kasi nag-appear na yung satellite imagery. So, ito by default, ang satellite imagery is Maxar Premium Imagery. So, ito yung, I think, pinaka-updated dito sa area na to. Okay? And then, just be careful sa pag-hover ng mouse nyo kasi baka pwedeng ma-move nyo yung mga objects na maklik nyo. So, etong mga to ay ang mga naho-hover nyo is ito na yung actual data natin sa OSM. So, be careful lang sa pag-click or pag-hover ng map natin. And then, as you zoom in, ayan, makikita nyo, ito na yung pwede nating imapa. So, etong mga to, definitely wala kayong no-hover. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa existing yung data niya. Pero itong mga no-hover natin is, ito na existing and pwede na silang i-edit. So, just a reminder din na when mapping sa OSM, we're not allowed to copy from Google Earth or Google Maps because meron silang technical restrictions and license. Medyo hindi tayo pwedeng mangopya sa kanila kasi malalaman nila yon, baka kasuhan pa tayo. So, no. So, we just use the available resources from Openstreetmap. Okay? Ayan. So, and isa pang reminder is, since dito sa area na to kasi hindi pa masyado marami yung data. But if you go to, for example, Makati, ganyan, yung mga highly urbanized areas, sobrang daming data doon. So, careful lang na may mga hidden objects kasi kayong makikita doon. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya fully rendered nung map nyo. So, parang pagka unang tingin, ay wala pang namamapa dito kasi wala kayong ma-hover na kahit ano. Pero upon zooming in, makikita nyo na map na pala. So just be careful. And meron namang indication dito sa lower right na sinasabi na may mga hidden features pa. So just take note of that. Ayun. So yung first step natin actually sa pagmamapa is before finding anything dito, kung ano yung gusto niyo map, just check muna yung imagery if lapat siya doon sa map data natin. So, yung unang-unang source na kailangan nating i-check is dapat GPS, but very, very limited yung GPS data natin sa Philippines. So, we can use yung mga primary roads or at least yung mga roads na nakamapa na dito sa OSM. So, check nyo muna if aligned sila, yung imagery plus yung road before mapping. So, since dito sa example ko, lapat naman siya. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, ready na tayo for mapping. So, yung primary road sana or yung mga primary, secondary, tertiary road. Yan. Okay? So, next naman yun nga. First is to find a building na maimamapa. So, for example, I'm very, very sure na lahat ng ito, yung mga colored na yan, lahat yan ay building. But I'm not sure kung anong type of building siya. So, we can now trace yung building na to. Ito specifically. Ayan. So, zoom in lang ng onte para mas maayos yung magiging outline natin. And then, click area para mag-enable na yung editing mode natin sa OSM, sa ID editor. And then, next is, i-left click natin yung first corner nung imamap natin. For this example, yung building. So, left click dun sa first corner and then next corner, left click ulit. Again, if natatakpan siya ng puno, just estimate kung hanggang saan siya. And then next left click is yung another corner. And then kapag isasara natin or i-enclose na natin yung polygon, i-double click lang natin yung left button ng mouse. Ayan. So, malalaman yun na naka-close na siya kapag parang nagbi-breathe or ano ba tawag dito? Ayan. Parang nagbi-blink. Yan. Yung feature. So, dito sa left panel, kung makikita nyo rin, pinapaselect niya na tayo ng feature na minap natin. So, for example, building nga siya. I identify this as a building. You can type building or may mga suggested naman na rin dito, features. So, just type building and then it will ask you to add more information. But again, hindi naman lahat ng information na ito alam natin since we're just mapping remotely. So, we can leave those blank na lang. So, for example, yung name, yung level, or kung ilang palapag siya, yung height in meters, and then your address. But you can leave this as yes. So, si building yes, siya yung generic tag for buildings. So, we just leave it as is. And then, before we save it, ayun, yung tip is to square the building. So, right-click, and then go to square, or shortcut key is letter Q sa keyboard. Ayan. So, ayan. Magiging sexy na siya. And then, just save your work after mapping a building or at least 5 to 10 buildings. So, para safe, since wala ako sa loob ng tasking manager, I will map this as a building. And before your map data could be uploaded, kailangan nyo rin maglagay ng change set comment. So, si change set comment is parang caption sa images nyo na ina-upload, for example, sa Instagram or sa Twitter or sa Facebook, ganyan. Para lang din may indication kayo kung ano yung ina-add nyo sa mapa. And then, mag-guide din yung other mappers natin sa OSM kung ano yung minap nyo doon sa OSM. So, for example, ito, I added a building. So, I'll just add a comment or a description na ito yung ginawa ko. So, added a building. And then, for monitoring purposes din sa OSM, we can actually add a hashtag for every building or every feature that we add. Kung gusto nyo lang naman. But for this event, we are requesting everyone to add a hashtag break the biased map, so that we can also monitor your edits and count how many POIs and how many buildings you have added to the map data. And then if you like someone to review your edit, you can tick this checkbox and then you can upload na. Okay, so once you hit the upload button, yan, automatically uploaded na siya sa database ni OSM. And then after a few minutes, mag-a-appear na din siya sa other users. So, ayun, as simple as that, meron ka nang na-contribute sa OSM. So, di ba, madali lang, hindi naman siya gano'n kahirap. Ayan, so yun yung example ng adding a building sa OSM. But what if you wanna add, ayan nga, yung mga safe spaces natin, for example, for breastfeeding or for VAUSI, ganyan. So, you can add those naman as a point if, yun nga, standalone siya or nasa isang building siya with maraming other points din. So, by adding a point, and sobrang straightforward lang din niya. So, add ka ng point, click mo lang dun sa map, and then dito sa left panel, itatype mo kung ano yung gusto mong i-add. So, for example, mall. Nasa mall siya. And then, ay hindi. So, for example, amenity, no. And sige, mall na lang muna. So, for example, nasa mall yung changing tables natin. So, ano yung specific tag niya? Ay amenity is equal to mall or kung anong amenity siya. For example, shop is equal to mall. And then baby feeding, yes. Changing tables, yes. So dito sa ID, pwede nating mag-add pa kung wala dito sa option. Ito lang naman yung mga basic option or tag. But we can add more doon sa tags na feature dito sa ilalim. So add baby feeding. Ayan. Ito nga palang mga to, ito yung nasa left, ang tawag dito ay key. And then yung nasa right is yung value. Yung key natin sa OSM is standard siya. So, ibig sabihin, naset na siya ng community. And then yung mga value, ito yung mga nag-change. So, yan. So, let's add yes. And then add pa, kunwari, yung changing tables. Table. Yan. And then, meron na din naman siyang drop down for the recommended values. So, yes. So, once you're done, you can just hit save. Pero for demonstration purposes, ayan, ganyan mag-add ng mga facility or mga POI. So, ayun, very easy and straightforward. Yun lang yung steps for adding an object sa Openstreetmap mismo. But since we're using the tasking manager, ayan, medyo may learning curve ng onte kasi iba yung interface nito ni tasking manager. And you have to log in then your OSM account to be able to use this tool and to contribute to the different projects. Again, we'll be using 11883. It's a project by Action for Economic Reform or EER together with USAID. And yung project nila is called Collab Dev that promotes data-driven, evidence-based policy reform and action in local communities. They're actually doing some fieldworks and remote mapping activities in different communities dito sa Philippines such as Donsol, Sorsogon para ma-mapa yung building footprint, yung critical facilities ng area na yon. So, once you're in this project, ayan, meron ditong option to contribute. So, nasa lower right naman siya. So, I hope hindi pa siya super overwhelming as of the moment. Ayan. But you just need to click on this button. Tapos, once na nasa loob ka na ng project na to, nakapag-contribute ka na by hitting the contribute button, mas marami ka pang information na makikita or mababasa. So, dito sa left side, nandito yung different information about the project. For example, dito nakalista under the tab, tasks tab, yung history ng mga task natin. So, lahat ng grids na makikita niyo dito is called a task. Ayan, may corresponding ID din sila. Okay? So, dito makikita niyo yung lahat ng task, yung available pa for mapping, yung ready for validation, itong mga naka-color blue. Blue ba to? Light blue. Ayan, kung hindi pa color blind, light blue yan. And then yung mga unavailable, so ibig sabihin, hindi pa siya ready for validation and more mapping is needed. Ayan. But for us, syempre, kailangan nating i-map yung mga naka-white pa. Or, ayan. Okay? And then for the instructions, ito, very important na ibasahin to for every project dito sa tasking manager. Okay? So, just read this carefully. Pero ang gist naman dito is to map the building footprints in the individual buildings dito sa tasking manager using ID editor. And then add the corresponding tag or at least yung generic tag for building and then square the building then para mas neat nga siya tingnan. And then you can also use the rapid editor para magamit yung mga AI detected buildings that you can also use para mag-guide kayo kung tama bang building tong nakikita nyo or not. But again, kailangan pa din na ma-validate ninyo yun. And then you can also add roads or paths or mga highways natin. And other information pa or general mapping notes that just be precise as possible and adding change set comments. And then if you created or if you adjusted yung imagery alignment, kailangan nyo i-indicate yon sa change set comment or sa comment dito sa tasking manager mismo so that other mappers can also be guided doon sa ginamit yung offset. And then when splitting tasks, so itong makikita nyo, ito yung default size nung task natin dito sa project. But you can actually split it pa further para mas siguro mas madalian kayo, hindi siya overwhelming for you. You can actually split the task. And then ayun, for beginners, yun yung gagawin natin. Since I think wala pa namang mga validators for now, we can actually skip muna this part. And then, yan, contributions, lahat lang ng contribution ng mga users na nagmapa dito sa specific project is mag-a-appear dito. So, ayan, nangunguna si Miko, si Arlie dito sa project na to. So, let's be competitive para mataasan natin si Nali. Ayan. So, ayun, once nakapagbasa na kayo ng instructions and other notes dito sa project, you can now proceed to actual mapping. So, just click or select a grid that you wanna map. And then dito sa left or sa right pala, right side natin sa ilalim, meron tayong editor na pwede nyong pagpilian. So since we're beginners, we'll be using the ID editor. And then once you chose na yun, you can click map selected task. And then, hindi naman kayo aalis sa tasking manager. Nandito pa rin kayo. So, naka-embed na rin dito yung katulad kanina sa OSM editor. Si ID editor ay integrated na rin dito sa tasking manager. Yan. And then, kung mapapansin nyo, once you've selected a task na rin, may magenta border na mag-a-appear or pink border na mag-a-appear. So, ibig sabihin, ito lang yung boundary nung grid or nung area na sinelect nyo. So, don't map outside of the boundary unless needed. For example, doon sa boundary may building. May building dito. Tapos nahati siya ng boundary. So kung mas lamang yung building doon sa loob ng boundary nyo, imapa nyo na agad siya. Kasama nyo na siya imap. Para hindi siya hati. Yung buong building yung imapa nyo. Okay? And then, ayun, same procedure. So, select area for building or point if may na-identify kayong familiar feature doon sa map. And then, once you're done mapping, you can select yes, otherwise no. And then, please add a comment na lang doon sa box. And then, please be mindful of the time then for each task. Kasi each user is given 2 hours. Yan na yung maximum. And then after 2 hours, mag-unlock yung task nyo. Kasi once you have selected a task, automatic sa inyo yon for 2 hours. Tapos after 2 hours, mag-unlock siya. Tapos open na siya for other users. So just be mindful of the time lang kapag ka nagmamapa kayo. Tapos save your work pa din. So pagka na-map nyo na siya, save nyo lang siya agad. So, wag niyo siyang kakalimutan. Yun yung important step. And then, yun nga, you can actually split a task if masyado kayong nalalakihan doon sa area na minamapa nyo. So, if for example, nung napili yung area is highly urbanized, tas sobrang daming buildings, hindi nyo kayang tapusin in 2 hours, just split the task and then proceed to mapping. Ayun, I think I spoke too much. Are there any questions for mapping the buildings or POIs? None?
Everyone, any questions for Faye?
Feeling ko nagmamapa na sila.
Going once, going twice. I think you very well you explained the how to map very well, and now the ladies have no questions or they're already there
Yeah, meron
putting
na
in
akong
their edits.
nakita. Let's see. Nandito na si Lay. Nandito na si Ate Cham. Nandito na si
Yes, I'm
Diane. Thank
there.
you so much. And si Miko. So I hope our other participants can also try and contribute map data while we're here para nakakapag-ask din kayo ng questions related to mapping dito sa OSM. So, ayun.
Yeah. I encourage
Yeah.
everyone, if you have any questions.
Yes, please.
I tell you,
Ayun.
I'm also a beginner mapper, and putting in that first building is a good it's a good feeling overall. So are we on the Mapathon part already? Because
Yes,
no one has questions,
if
probably they're
no,
already
yeah.
there.
Yeah, and sa Mapathon proper naman, it's not restricted dito lang sa project na to, but you can also map your area doon sa for women's spaces mapping. So yun. So baka sila Miss
Okay, they can also use the
Van.
Openstreetmap
Yes.
editor, not
Yes.
this one from Hot.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yun.
and map
I
your
think
town and the features.
yeah, we can spend some minutes or few minutes to map, tapos later baka may mga questions na ma-encounter yung participants natin. You can just unmute yourselves and ask questions. Ayun. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye.
I
So
have a
how many minutes are we going to? Oh, right. We have a question.
I have a question for Miss Faye. What will we do if we go to a task and then we see
Hello?
build? What happens? What do we do if we see buildings in the task, but like the imagery that we're using, there's no buildings there? But there's already map buildings, but the imagery, the Maxar doesn't have.
Okay. Probably it was because the user added that map using a different imagery. So for example, minapa ko in 2013 yung building na yon using Bing. Pero syempre, iba na yung landscape ngayon. So probably naging something else na siya. You can not you can actually delete it naman, but please indicate sa comment, sa change set comment na you deleted it because it's not existing based sa Maxar imagery. Or if may other existing object na siya, you can just modify the geometry of the building. For example, naging point na lang siya, iwan mo na lang yung node nung polygon na yon, and then you can modify the tags na lang corresponding to that specific feature. Tama ba, Nali, yung pagkakaintindi ko?
Yes po. Thank you, Ma'am Faye.
Yeah. Okay lang na mag-delete as long as justifiable siya nung imagery na yon. Okay? But I'm not saying na delete pagka mali siya or kapag ang pangit ng trace sa OSM, we also preserve or revalue yung history ng mga changes or edits natin. So it's not really recommended to delete but to modify yung feature na yun, especially kung nagbago lang naman siya ng type. Ayun, delete lang talaga if not at all existing na siya. Yes, reshape. Pwede rin. Yeah, I think marami pang areas dito sa Philippines na Bing din yung ginamit. So sobrang luma na din kasi hindi naman sobrang luma kasi ina-update naman din siya ni Bing eh. Pero, syempre, yung mga mappers before, kung ano yung nakamap nung time na yon, syempre, doon sila nag-base. Pero ngayon, kailangan na rin siyang i-update using yung updated imagery natin from Bing or from Mapbox or from Maxar. Ayun. By the way, yung mananalo sa Mapathon, we have a prize, di ba, Nadi? Tama, no?
Yes.
Yes. So, please be competitive, Char. Sa pagmamap ng ano natin, maps natin. Meron pa ba kayong question about mapping a building or adding a space, safe space, women's space sa Openstreetmap? If you have, just unmute na lang. Okay? Wait. Ito pala question. Paano kung hindi aligned yung DG? DG? Anong DG?
I think it's a
Yung
satellite
buildings.
image.
Okay.
Buildings.
Alright. So, what if hindi aligned yung buildings sa latest map? Medyo complicated, but ang ginagawa namin before is yung imagery, nire-realign namin siya sa road. And then, based from that alignment, doon namin i-adjust yung mga buildings na yon. But kasi, meron ding times naman na ina-adjust na lang namin yung imagery doon sa pagkakapatong nung mga buildings na yon, tapos saka kami nagmamap using the same imagery. So parang pwedeng two ways yung pag-handle natin nung ganong type of situation. So yung una is i-align yung gagamitin ng imagery, yung pinaka-latest doon sa roads, and then you can just adjust yung mga buildings na yon based doon sa imagery. And then again, i-indicate sa change set comment yung offset na ginamit for that changes para then aware yung mga users or mappers natin na ito yung ginamit kong imagery, kaya ito yung, offset, kaya dito ako nag-base. Okay? So, yung imagery na mag-adjust. Yeah. Pwedeng yon. Thank you to, ayun, baka may mga other questions pa from our participants. You can feel free to ask us while we're still here.
Yeah. We'll continue the Q&A and the Mapathon portion for until 5:50 because it's almost 6 already. Right? So we have 2 more minutes and you just input your edits over at the Openstreetmap website, or if you're in the tasking manager, then continue adding those points. For the task over the hot tasking manager, it has a deadline, right?
Yeah, I think we're closing later today. Pero since we're
All right.
na-short tayo sa time natin sa today, I think yun nga, the participants can still map naman until 11:59 p.m. later.
Okay, it's today.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can add in those points until later tonight
Yeah.
and out edit who is the top one editor now. Is it still Nali or somebody won? Okay, so we're at 5:50 and I hope you guys are still continuing adding your edits into the map. And I think it will be a good time for us to show our faces as we are nearing the end of our webinar today for a quick photo before our closing words from Nali. So I want to see those faces. Okay.
The beautiful
I
faces.
need to show my face.
Ang init. Super init, ha?
Okay. Very good. How about the others? If you're not too comfortable, then it's fine. Just give us a heart emoji. Who's gonna take a screenshot?
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Miko posted a heart. Okay. So you do the countdown, Faye.
Okay.
Or not?
Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Right. Next. Again, wacky. Let's do some wacky pose.
Oh, can we do this?
1, 2. Ay, nga no. Wait lang, paano? Sige, 1, 2, 3, tapos magkiklik ako. Kaso.
Okay.
Shucks, hirap pala. Wait lang. Iaano ko.
Okay.
Tatapat ko sa game. 1.
Okay, go Faye.
Isa pa. Sorry. 1. Hirap, ha? 1.
We believe in you.
Wait.
Girl.
Ayan na. Take ko na. Naku,
Okay, very
nagsasalita
good.
si Late. Lay ulit kasi nawala ka. Dumaldal ka bigla. Yan. 1, 2, 3. Yon. There you
Very
go.
good. Very nice. So now we move on to our closing. But first, let me introduce to you this awesome geolady. So Arnalie, we've been mentioning her quite a lot during our webinar today. So Arnalie is the mother of Rohan. Shout out to all Lord of the Rings fans, and works as the online community engagement lead for the humanitarian OSM team. She is passionate about building inclusive spaces in the OSM community, where the communities that we serve and map are prioritized, listened to, and are able to voice their concerns. So for some closing words, let's hear it from Nali.
Thank you, Thank you, Jam. And yeah, thank you so much for participating with us this year to break the bias map. Again, shout out to all the participants, map contributors, our speakers, Miss Jelen, Miss Diane, Miss Hani, our partner organization, the Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, my fellow GeoladiesPH members, especially Lay, Cham, and Faye, and also to our sponsors, OSM Philippines, Smart City, and Open Mapping Hub, Asia Pacific. Collectively, we were able to map X number of features. We will be we will be announcing that through our social media channels. We were able to map features through Openstreetmap. I also would like to acknowledge not only the map contributions, but also the non-map contributions. Again, thank you for your time, your bandwidth in making this campaign and event a success. So we will be donating to our partner organization, Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, and we will be keeping in touch with them and with you for the safe spaces mapping. And also, in addition, everyone here from the Philippines will receive a face swag. Also acknowledging.
Ooh, let me hear those woos.
Woo!
Yes.
May free swags kayo. So yeah, to our non-Philippine residents, we're not sure yet how to be able to send you, but yeah, please send me a message. Hopefully next year we will be able to meet physically, have some pancit, palabok, and biko, coke. So yeah, in closing, yeah, let's break the bias map by making ourselves visible on the map, make our realities, human realities represented on the map. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nali. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you had a good time. And I know that for all the speakers today, we really felt that it is indeed a safe space for us. And let's create more safe spaces for everyone together. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See
you,
you.
everyone. See you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today.